On September 21, 2025, a date that may well be remembered as a turning point in modern geopolitics, the leaders of Saudi Arabia and Pakistan gathered in Riyadh. They met to sign a landmark agreement. The document, formally titled the Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement, established a new and powerful security relationship between the two nations. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman represented the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif stood for the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Their handshake symbolized the culmination of months of quiet, intensive negotiations. This was not merely a renewal of old promises. It was the creation of a formal, binding military alliance. The setting itself spoke volumes about the importance of the pact. Held within the grand halls of the royal court in Riyadh, the event was attended by the highest echelons of both governments. The world watched as two of the most influential countries in the Islamic world declared their intent to stand together against external threats. The agreement was presented as a natural evolution of a long-standing friendship. Yet, it signaled something far more profound about the changing security landscape of the Middle East and South Asia. But this new agreement elevates that relationship to a strategic level previously unseen. It moves beyond informal understandings and creates a formal treaty obligation, a clear red line for any potential adversary to consider. For Saudi Arabia, it was a move to secure its future in an increasingly uncertain neighborhood. For Pakistan, it was an opportunity to solidify its role as a key security provider and bolster its strategic importance beyond its immediate borders. At the very core of the new Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement lies a simple but powerful principle. This principle is one of collective defense. The key clause states that an act of aggression against either Saudi Arabia or Pakistan will be considered an act of aggression against both. This language echoes Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty. Visual. A graphic illustrating mutual defense with the flags of Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, linked by a shield. By adopting this framework, Riyadh and Islamabad have sent an unambiguous message to the world. They are no longer just partners. They are formal military allies bound by a solemn promise of mutual protection. This commitment has profound implications for the defense posture of both nations. It means that in the event of an attack on Saudi territory, Pakistan would be obligated to come to its defense. Intelligence sharing, logistical support, potential deployment of Pakistani military forces. Conversely, should Pakistan face a foreign threat, it could call upon Saudi Arabia's vast financial resources, diplomatic resources. This reciprocal guarantee fundamentally alters strategic calculations. It creates a deterrent far greater than what either nation could project on its own. The establishment of a joint military council ensures coordination will be swift and decisive. For Saudi Arabia, this clause is the centerpiece of its quest for strategic autonomy. By binding itself to Pakistan, Riyadh has created a powerful regional deterrent. For Pakistan, the agreement elevates its status as a pivotal security actor, strengthening its diplomatic hand, deepening its ties with a wealthy and influential partner. One of the most intensely debated aspects of the Saudi-Pakistan agreement is what it does not say. Nowhere in the official text is there any explicit mention of Pakistan's nuclear weapons. Intelligence sharing, both Saudi and Pakistani officials have been quick to dismiss any suggestions that the pact constitutes a nuclear sharing agreement. They insist Pakistan's nuclear command and control structure remains firmly and exclusively in Pakistani hands. The weapons are for the defense of Pakistan and Pakistan alone, or so the official line goes. However, the very existence of the pact creates a powerful ambiguity. This is often referred to as a nuclear umbrella. By declaring that an attack on Saudi Arabia is an attack on Pakistan, the agreement implicitly extends Pakistan's deterrent capabilities. Any nation contemplating an existential attack on the Saudi kingdom must now consider the possibility of a response from a nuclear-armed state. This does not mean Pakistan would automatically launch a nuclear strike on Riyadh's behalf, but the possibility, however remote, must be included in any strategic calculation. This indirect extension of a nuclear deterrent is a game-changer for Middle Eastern security. This strategic ambiguity serves the interests of both countries. For Saudi Arabia, it provides a level of deterrence against existential threats that it could not achieve on its own, short of developing its own nuclear weapons. For Pakistan, the arrangement reinforces its strategic importance on the global stage. The world is left to wonder, what secret protocols accompany the public treaty? The line between conventional and nuclear deterrence has been intentionally blurred, and that blurriness is now central to the new regional security architecture. The signing of the Saudi-Pakistan Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement in September 2025 was not a sudden impulse. It was the logical conclusion of several converging geopolitical trends that have been reshaping the Middle East and South Asia for years. The primary driver for Saudi Arabia was a growing sense of vulnerability. The kingdom has faced a series of direct threats, and a series of indirect threats, most notably from Iran, and its network of proxy forces across the region. Attacks on its oil infrastructure, such as the devastating strikes in 2019, exposed critical weaknesses in its defenses. Those strikes raised serious questions about the reliability of its traditional security guarantors. These regional threats have been compounded by a clear shift in global power dynamics. The United States has been gradually reducing its military footprint and signaling a strategic pivot towards Asia. This has led to a profound sense of unease in Riyadh and other Gulf capitals. Doubts about the willingness of the U.S. to intervene militarily on their behalf have grown stronger with each passing year. The chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan was a particularly stark signal. The perception in Riyadh is that the American security guarantee is no longer ironclad, forcing the kingdom to seek out new and more reliable alliances. Recent events in the Gulf have only accelerated this trend. The Saudi leadership under Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has embarked on an ambitious project of economic and social reform known as Vision 2030. The success of this entire project hinges on a stable and secure regional environment. This defense pact with Pakistan is therefore seen as an essential insurance policy, a way to deter aggression and protect the kingdom's ambitious future. From Pakistan's perspective, the timing was equally opportune. Facing persistent economic challenges and complex security threats on its own borders, Islamabad saw an opportunity to solidify its most important strategic partnership. The new Saudi-Pakistan Pact is as much a story about the United States as it is about the two signatories. For more than half a century, the security architecture of the Persian Gulf was built upon a simple foundation: American military power. The United States Navy patrolled the sea lanes, United States air power dominated the skies, a network of American bases provided a formidable deterrent. In exchange for access to oil and strategic influence, Washington guaranteed the security of its Gulf allies, including Saudi Arabia. This new agreement signals a definitive crack in that long-standing foundation, reflecting a deep-seated Saudi belief that this guarantee can no longer be taken for granted. This perception of American unreliability has been building for over a decade. The Obama administration's pivot to Asia, the Trump administration's transactional America, first foreign policy. The Biden administration's focus on great power competition with China and Russia have all contributed. From a Saudi perspective, the United States' response to major security incidents, such as the 2019 attacks on its Aramco oil facilities, was seen as tepid and insufficient. The lack of a forceful military retaliation sent a powerful message throughout the region. Gulf states needed to start taking their own security into their own hands. The United States was no longer the dependable protector it once was. The decision by Riyadh to forge a formal defense treaty with Pakistan is a direct consequence of this strategic recalculation. It represents a move toward a more multi-aligned foreign policy, where the kingdom diversifies its security partnerships, rather than relying solely on one superpower. While Saudi Arabia will undoubtedly continue to maintain a close relationship with the United States, particularly in terms of arms purchases and intelligence sharing, it is no longer willing to place all its eggs in one basket. The pact with Pakistan provides a regional alternative, a security guarantee that is geographically closer and in some ways, politically more dependable than one from a distant global power with shifting priorities. Washington's reaction to the pact has been officially cautious and muted, but behind the scenes there is certainly concern. The agreement challenges America's traditional role as the sole arbiter of security in the Gulf. The announcement of the Saudi-Pakistan Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement was received in New Delhi with significant concern and careful analysis. India finds itself in a complex position. On one hand, it has cultivated strong and growing strategic ties and economic ties with Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states. The Indian diaspora in the Gulf is a vital source of remittances. The Gulf is a crucial supplier of India's energy needs. India and Saudi Arabia have also deepened their own security cooperation in recent years, focusing on counter-terrorism and maritime security. The new pact does not necessarily threaten these ties directly, but it introduces an unwelcome complication. The core of India's concern lies with the other signatory, its long-standing rival, Pakistan. Any development that enhances Pakistan's military capabilities, strategic depth, or international standing is viewed with suspicion from New Delhi. The Defense Pact raises the prospect of Saudi financial support for Pakistan in any future conflict with India, and diplomatic support. While the pact is explicitly defensive and focused on threats to Saudi Arabia, Indian strategists must now consider scenarios where the alliance could be invoked in a South Asian context. Furthermore, the implicit nuclear dimension of the pact is particularly troubling for India. For decades, the nuclear standoff in South Asia has been a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan. The new agreement, by extending a potential Pakistani nuclear umbrella over Saudi Arabia, internationalizes this dynamic. It raises the possibility, however remote, that a conflict in the Middle East could have nuclear repercussions in South Asia or vice versa. This creates a new layer of strategic instability that Indian planners must now account for. In response, India's official reaction has been measured. The Ministry of External Affairs issued a brief statement noting the development and reaffirming its commitment to regional peace and stability. Behind the scenes, Indian diplomats are undoubtedly seeking clarification from Riyadh about the scope and intent of the agreement. The pact will force New Delhi to perform a delicate balancing act, maintaining its crucial partnership with the Arab world while managing the heightened strategic challenge posed by a more empowered Pakistan. From the moment the pact was announced, both Saudi and Pakistani officials engaged in a coordinated diplomatic campaign to frame the agreement in a specific light public statements, press briefings, private diplomatic channels. They have repeatedly assured the international community that the alliance is not directed against any third country. The Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement is purely defensive in nature. It is a sovereign arrangement between two nations deterring aggression, preserving regional stability. This narrative is crucial for mitigating negative reactions from other regional and global powers. The text of the agreement itself is structured to support this defensive posture. Clauses that invoke mutual action are tied specifically to acts of aggression, a term that implies an unprovoked attack. There is no language suggesting any intent for joint offensive operations intervening in the internal affairs of other nations. This careful wording is designed to preempt accusations confronting Iran's Sunni alliance escalating sectarian tensions. By emphasizing its defensive character, Riyadh and Islamabad hope to present the pact as a contribution to stability, a measure that raises the cost of conflict for everyone. However, despite these assurances, the line between defense and offense can be blurry in geopolitics. What one nation considers a defensive measure, another may perceive as a threat. For Iran, the primary regional rival of Saudi Arabia, this new alliance will almost certainly be viewed as a hostile and escalatory move. The formalization of a military pact between its neighbor and a nuclear-armed power on its eastern flank will be seen as an attempt at strategic encirclement. This perception could lead Iran to accelerate military programs, deepen alliances with proxy forces, potentially creating a dangerous cycle of action and reaction. This highlights the central ambiguity of the agreement. While its stated intent is defensive, its practical effect could be to heighten regional tensions. The pact fundamentally alters the balance of power. Much will depend on how the alliance is perceived by others, and how Saudi Arabia and Pakistan choose to operationalize it. Will the joint military exercises be low-key and routine, or will they be large-scale demonstrations of force? Will the rhetoric surrounding the pact remain measured? The answers to these questions will determine whether the pact ultimately serves as a stabilizing deterrent, or an inadvertent catalyst for a new arms race in the region. The Saudi-Pakistan Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement is more than just a bilateral treaty. It is a tectonic event that promises to reshape the power dynamics across two of the world's most volatile regions. In the Middle East, the pact significantly strengthens Saudi Arabia's position relative to its main adversary, Iran. For years, the strategic balance has been asymmetric. Iran has relied on its formidable proxy network. Iran has relied on its controversial nuclear program. Saudi Arabia has relied on its financial wealth. Saudi Arabia has relied on its alliance with the United States. This new pact introduces a powerful new element into the equation: the conventional military might of Pakistan. The unconventional military might of Pakistan. This shift creates a new, more localized balance of power in the Persian Gulf. It reduces, though does not eliminate, the region's dependence on external powers for its security. The emergence of a powerful Riyadh-Islamabad axis could compel other regional actors to recalculate their positions. Smaller Gulf states may feel pressured to align more closely with this new power center. At the same time, it could spur Iran to double down on its own strategic partnerships, perhaps with countries like China, perhaps with countries like Russia. The old order, policed by a single, distant superpower, is giving way to a more complex and multipolar landscape defined by competing regional alliances. The impact extends well beyond the Gulf into South Asia. The agreement elevates Pakistan's strategic stature to a new level. By becoming the formal security guarantor for the leading Arab power, Pakistan gains immense diplomatic and political clout. This could alter its relationships not only with its rival India, but also with its powerful neighbor, China. Beijing, which has a deep strategic partnership with Islamabad through the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, will watch this development closely. It may see a more influential Pakistan as a valuable asset, but it may also be wary of its key partner becoming entangled in Middle Eastern conflicts. For the great powers, the pact is a clear sign of a changing world. For the United States, it is a stark illustration of the limits of its influence and the consequences of its perceived retrenchment from the Middle East. It forces Washington to deal with a new reality where its regional partners are actively hedging their bets and building their own security architectures. For China, for Russia, it could present an opportunity. A Middle East less dominated by the United States might offer more room for them to expand their own economic and political influence. The Saudi-Pakistan Pact is a clear indicator that the unipolar moment is over and a new, more complicated era of international relations has begun. As the ink dries on the Saudi-Pakistan Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement, a host of critical questions remain unanswered. The signing is just the beginning of a long, complex process. The true significance won't be the words on paper, but the actions in the months and years to come. The first and most important question is implementation. How will they translate mutual defense into a credible operational reality? It will require unprecedented military and intelligence integration. The world will watch for tangible signs. Will there be a permanent joint command structure? How frequent and how extensive will joint military exercises be? Will Pakistani military advisors be embedded in the Saudi command chain? What specific red lines will trigger the mutual defense clause? These operational answers will show the alliance's depth and seriousness. A pact only on paper has little deterrent effect. A pact backed by robust, visible, integrated military planning will alter the region's security landscape. Another area of uncertainty: reactions of other powers. How will Iran respond? Test the alliance with calibrated provocation? Or be deterred into caution? How will the United States adjust policy in the Gulf? Will it work with the new alliance, or view it as a challenge to its interests? How will India navigate this, balancing Gulf ties against Pakistan's new strategic weight? The diplomatic fallout is only beginning to unfold. Ultimately, the agreement raises a fundamental question about future security in the Middle East and South Asia. Is this a step toward a more stable regional order, where local powers take responsibility and create a durable balance? Or does it risk a new Cold War, two rigid, heavily armed blocs, one led by Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, the other by Iran and its allies? The road ahead is fraught with promise and peril. The Saudi-Pakistan Pact has redrawn the map of power, and the world must now watch carefully to see where these new lines lead.